Musical instruments. Introduction. Music has probably been important since the first humans lived on Earth. They made musical instruments from everyday objects. Music might have been discovered unintentionally when musical tones were created by accidentally hitting a tree trunk or a rock, or the wind might have created music when it blew through a shell, a reed, or a piece of bamboo. Music is still important to us today. We can make music with our voice or with instruments. We can also dance to it or just listen to it. We can also dance or to it or just music can bring pleasure and joy to life. Gentle, quiet music soothes us. Loud music excites us and gives us energy. We can create it or find music to express all of our moods. Instruments. Just as there are many types of music, there are also many types of instruments. Each instrument has its own special personality. Each one creates its own kind of sound and mood. The sound can be soft, loud, gentle, harsh, wild, or soothing. The type of sound made by a musical instrument depends on the shape, design, and size. The sound also depends on the materials from which the instrument is made and the way it's played. It is truly amazing how many types of musical instruments there are in the world. Each one can bring pleasure or both the player and the listener. Or orchestras. One place where many musical instruments are found is an orchestra. Orchestra. This is a group of musicians who play together on certain musical instruments. Most big cities and small cities have an orchestra. Orchestras usually played what is called classical music. The biggest part of an orchestra is the string section. This is include a family of stringed instruments that are played in a bow. These instruments are created a similar kind of sound. Every so Even though some are smaller with a higher sound, and some are bigger with a deeper sound. The string section includes violins, violas, solos, and basses. Double basses. The string section of a large orchestra can certain over 70 musicians. Another stringed instrument in an orchestra is plucked instead of bowed. It is the harp. It is a quieter instrument than many other orchestra instruments. The harp is usually played while few other instruments are playing, so that it can be heard. Sometimes the harp is played solo or alone. Another important group of Instruments used by an orchestra is the woodwind family. The woodwind include flutes, oboes, clarinets, and bassoons. The woodwind have other family members that may be part of an orchestra too. The flute is a smaller cousin called piccolo. Piccolo. The other woodwinds have bigger cousin called the English horn, bass clarinet, and double bassoon. Woodwind instruments are played by blowing air up to them. They have many holes that make different musical notes when the holes are covered or uncovered. Sometimes the hole are covered by the player's finger. Sometimes the player holds down keys that cover the hole. Another section of orchestra is the brass section. It includes trumpets, horns, trombones, and tubas. These are among the most powerful instruments in an orchestra. Brass instruments, like woodwind, are played by blowing into them. Trumpet, trumpets, horns, and tubas have valves that that a player pushes to change notes. Trombones have a U-shaped metal tube and slide. The player moves the slides to change notes. Percussion instrument instruments are another important part of orchestra. These instruments are all struck or hit in one way or another. They are made of skin, metal, or wood. Some percussion instruments, which are xylophone, create musical notes. Another, such as castanets and most drums, create sound with no musical notes. Percussion adds bangs and splash to the sound of an orchestra. Keyboard instruments include the piano and the organ. These instruments have closed cases that hide the inside of the instrument. Piano have strings that vibrate. Organs create a sound by use of wind. These instruments all have many keys that can create many more notes than most other instruments. Bands. Bands are another kind of musical group that have their own kind of instrument. Marching bands use brass, woodwind, and percussion instruments, but no string. There are many other kinds of bands as well. They often include one or more guitars, another stringed instrument. Guitars are foundation of many bands in the same way that the violin family is foundation of an orchestra. Guitar played in a bands and bands are often made louder by use of amplifiers. Amplifiers. A rock band can include electric guitar, bass guitar, drum, and an electronic keyboard, along with other instruments. A jazz band can have many the same instruments as rock bands. It can also have woodwind brass instruments. Latin bands often have extra percussion, such as marimba, and instruments related to a xylophone. Bluegrass and country music bands may have guitar, banjos, mandolin, and other harps. They may also have various various percussion instruments such as booms, washboard, and bucket basses. This band also have fiddles, which are violins played in a very different style than they are in an orchestra. Instruments around the world. Cultures around the world have one described so far in this book. Most instruments, no matter where they found, they are played in one of four ways: by blowing, scratching, plucking, and hammering. Some examples of each type of instrument are shown on the following pages. Blown instruments, including the woodwind, all force air down a tube. Look at these photographs of blown instruments from around the world. Scratch instruments include the violin family. They often use a bow and that creates a sound that then scraped over strings, but many scrapped instruments created music in other ways. These are two unusual scrapped instruments. Plucked instruments have strings that can be plucked using finger and variety of other objects. Here are some plucked instruments from around the world. Hammer instruments include drums and other percussion instruments. They create music by hitting one object with another. Cultures around the world have many kinds of hammered instruments. Here are a few of them. In many ways, the human voice can be considered a musical instrument. It is perhaps Perhaps the most flexible music instrument of all. We can create and sing songs with words, tunes without words, and a wide variety of rhythms and sounds. It doesn't cost anything since no extra equipment is needed. If you are in a place where you need to be quiet, you can still hum or sing silently to yourself. Music brings great joy to life. It helps us to express ourselves and to fill our world with beauty. Whether you sing, dance, play an instrument, or sit listen to music, be sure to make it a part of your life.